Hong Kong is eyeing a major overhaul of public broadcaster Radio Television Hong Kong, or RTHK. A government review has found editorial management deficiencies and a lack of transparency in handling complaints. RTHK is the only independent publicly funded media outlet in the city. It drew strong criticism from city authorities over its coverage of the anti-government protests in 2019. Roland Lim joins us for more on this story. Roland, what sort of changes does the Hong Kong government want at RTHK?
Well, political watchers are saying that the government actually wants tighter control of RTHK's management, and that RTHK's charter of unbiased, fair and balanced view news gathering is applied strictly across all its news gathering divisions. Remember, the government report and survey on RTHK's corporate governance as well as management showed 5 deficiencies in major areas, like, for example, the handling of complaints from the public as one, that there wasn't any holistic manpower strategy in place, and the fact that there was a failure to align its business cycles as well as budgetary concerns, and of course, poor procurement systems in place. But more critically was the point about editorial decisions being taken place, that the fact that there was no documented guidelines as to the responsibilities of editors in charge, which has led, for example, to editorial decisions being taken by the production unit themselves, leaving, for example, the editor-in-chief and other senior management as passive watchers when it comes to the production of these news items. So management really is concerned. The government, of course, very concerned. We had, of course, Chief Executive Carrie Lam much earlier on saying that the RTHK, as a public broadcaster, has received a barrage of complaints from the public, and that is, she said, totally unacceptable, and that improvements had to be made to the broadcaster.
And what's been the reaction so far, Roland, to this demand for an overhaul?
Well, we've already heard from the RTHK programming staff union saying that this will be the end of editorial independence for the broadcaster with the overhaul that the government has in mind. They say that with a more structured system, the senior management will make editorial decisions when it comes to sensitive story, and that could also prevent the news gathering or the breaking of such news in a timely manner. They also question the government choosing or putting into place a new director of broadcasting. He is Patrick Lee. He is currently the Deputy Secretary of the Home Affairs Department. He is a 30-year-plus civil servant with no broadcasting experience. And they said that the outgoing Mr. Kah Wing, for example, was a veteran at both previously TVB and ATV. He's had a better grasp, they say, of the understanding and the workings behind a broadcaster like RTHK. Remember, RTHK is very much compared to like the UK's BBC in the sense that while it is a public broadcaster, it has editorial independence, but it also at the same time accepts some $130 million from taxpayers alone to fund its 3 TV stations and 7 radio stations. On the other side of the spectrum, in terms of reaction, the Beijing DAB party, Hong Kong's biggest political party, says that they now expect to see editorial improvements when it comes to RTHK programming. Remember, the DAB was very critical of RTHK, especially in its coverage of the anti-government protests that occurred back in 2019, saying that the reporting seemed to suggest a more bias towards the protesters on the streets rather than the government side of things.
Right. Roland, thank you very much for that update. Roland Lim there.